Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Kira Benko. Kira, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Brittany. I'm honored to be here.
I really appreciate the conversation today. You originally grew up in Pacific Palisades. You're in Southern California right now, and it is coming at just a scary, harrowing, a heart-wrenching time. We're seeing multiple wildfires rage through that part of the state, burning through thousands of acres, thousands of homes. Can you talk about exactly what you've been experiencing the past few days?
Absolutely. So, my parents have lived in the same small, one-story house in the Alphabet Street neighborhood in Pacific Palisades. The same house for 31 years. It's the home that I grew up in. My younger sister grew up in. They've been in the Palisades for 38 years total. I currently live in New York City, and I was actually at CES in Las Vegas when we heard about the fires, and I just booked a flight immediately to come to LA to support my parents. Unfortunately, my parents were in Hawaii taking care of my great aunt who is very ill when all of this happened. So they were on a plane when all of the evacuation orders hit. And by the time they landed in LAX, they were not able to get into their home. So the only thing they have to their name is the clothes that they have on their backs and a suitcase with flip-flops and a Hawaiian shirt.
Just hearing that is, there's no words to describe what you're just saying. And then coming home, having your home be totally decimated. On a personal level, how are you doing?
Oh, well, pretty. It comes and goes. It's actually um it's a very bizarre position to be in because um you see so many horrible things happening in the world every single day, from hurricanes and earthquakes and tornadoes and bombings and it's until it happens to you, it feels still very far and you still have this sort of disconnect. But I think we're all just in shock. I think that our whole community is in shock. We vacillate between uncontrollable tears and just holding each other and sort of this quiet stoicism and even a little bit of dark humor about remembering, silly things, excuse me, that we lost in the home that were meaningful that, we'll never see again. And it's just a very mercurial sort of time.
I know that that's the house you grew up in. I can't imagine. There must be countless memories there. It's a community you've known for decades. What is that community like, and how are you all holding up?
Our community in Pacific Palisades was one of the most magical, beautiful places on the planet. I've seen a lot of conversation in the media about, focusing on the celebrity homes and the mansions. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that in the 1980s, Pacific Palisades was a little small beach town where so many of, our very close family friends that we grew up with, they all started moving into the Palisades, into these little homes, built this beautiful community together, so friendly, so loving, just so just a community filled with just supportive, wonderful people. And yes, over time, a lot of because it's a beautiful beach town, a lot of sort of the Hollywood and more, I guess you could say, well-off people started to move in. So it has a reputation for being, a very rich community. But especially in my neighborhood, which is called the Alphabet Streets because they're just this, grid in alphabetical order. There are just so many of these historic homes that were built in even the 60s and the 70s, with this antique architecture. It's just been such a beautiful community, and to see it completely decimated is beyond heartbreaking.
It sounds like the American dream, right? You have this beautiful community for years that you grew up in. Your parents have been in the same house for decades. You have this really strong community. And then, all in the blink of an eye, it completely, the rug has been pulled over from the entire community. So I'm sure. you didn't know, your parents didn't know that this would happen, obviously. All you have is the clothes on your back, essentially. So, what do you think the response of local officials and statewide officials have been so far? Has it been helpful to your community?
Frankly, I think it's been a little bit challenging. I also, I personally don't live in Pacific Palisades now. I moved to New York City, in my 20s, and so coming here and sort of looking for resources, I know that the local authorities are doing what they can. I do think it's been really challenging. I think it's been really challenging to get the word out. We've been tuning into town halls, which is tough to get the information on a hyper local level. It's it's been, you know, I mean, what can I say? We wish that there was just one resource that could help everybody, but I think that unfortunately there's a lot of different moving parts. And on a grander level beyond just Pacific Palisades, my hometown, there's the Eaton fires, there's Altadena, there's new fires that we can see just right over the hill here. And it just feels like it's getting so much bigger. And the bigger it gets, the harder it is to communicate the right information to the right people.
What would be your message then to local officials, to the mayor, even the governor? Because if you're saying, hey, this is really confusing to even get this information, you're connected to Wi-Fi now because you and I are talking. So many people don't have power, aren't connected to Wi-Fi, don't even know where to begin. So, what would be your message to those officials?
My message to those officials, I think, would be to continue to communicate and be as transparent as possible. I know there have also been some scares yesterday. For example, all of Los Angeles got an emergency evacuation warning to our phones, that sort of that loud beeping, very scary, very jarring message. And then a few minutes later, after we're packing up from our safe house, they issued another one that said, oops, that was an accident, which I think for all of us who are already very on edge, that was challenging to move through. I mean, I burst into tears just thinking that we're in our safe house, we're okay, and now we have to find a new one. So I think being as transparent and moving as quickly as possible to share information, but also understanding that people want transparent, they want timely, they want real updates, but also not to spook anyone who is already in a very traumatic state of mind.
I mean, the level of trauma here is just incomprehensible. So, the entire nation, the entire world really seems to be watching Southern California right now. Our hearts, our prayers. We want to help. I'm on the East Coast right now. I know everyone wants to help. What is your message to the entire nation?
Brittany, that is a very big question for someone who just feels like one tiny, teeny, tiny iota of a person in this huge, massive scale of destruction. But I think that the best thing that the nation can do to support is to Google resources and make sure that they are validating that they are going to real people. GoFundMe has a page with all sorts of hyper local GoFundMe's. I'm part of one that's a Palisades cleanup cruise. So soon once we're able to go in, we're gonna get on some masks and gloves and go start cleaning up. So just make sure that who you're donating to are real organizations and not scams, because I fear that in any time of crisis, there are going to be people trying to take advantage. So do your best to find real resources, the Red Cross, the LA Fire Department. We need to support these incredible human beings who are putting their lives on the line for us every single moment of every single day as the fires continue to spread. So I guess my best advice would be to find ways to donate. I even had someone reach out to me on Instagram, and she told me that she's watching her son sleep soundly in his bed with his, blankie and his teddy bear, many states away. And she said, I can only imagine how many teddy bears burned. Can we do something and just get toys for little kids? And so we're just trying to do things on a small scale. Ideas are welcome. Money is welcome. Just try to find real resources that are people on the ground and ensure that they're going to real people and not to the bank accounts of those not affected.
I just got the chills about the teddy bear story because, in the face of these horrific incidents, you really do sometimes see the best of humanity. And I was really struck in a conversation you and I had right before this conversation that, in the face of this tragedy, you want to create a support network. So, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, I've been here in LA for a couple of nights. I flew right in as soon as I found out this was happening. And um, transparently, the first night, I just sat in my bed and cried all night because I've never felt so helpless in my whole life. And I just thought, if I feel this lonely with my parents here by my side, I can only imagine how lonely other people must be feeling. So I started a Discord server for Palisadians who have been displaced because I was also looking on Facebook and Nextdoor, and so many resources felt so overwhelming because they were just all jumbling, posting things together. So on the Discord server that I started, I've organized it by hyperlocal neighborhoods because the Palisades is known for, there's the Bluffs, there's the Huntington, there's the Highlands, there's the Alphabet Streets, and they're hyper local communities of maybe like 1,000 people that all make up this beautiful city of, I think it's 23,000 people total. So that's been gaining traction. It's been really rewarding to feel like I'm connecting with people. I'm connecting with people from grade school that I haven't spoken to in years. And, um, you know, I think one thing that's so devastating for us is because our family home burned down, there's all my baby pictures are gone, pictures of my grandparents are gone. And so we've even have, channels for churches, for grade schools, for people who want to connect with, hyper on a hyper local level and share photos and even we've had a lot of people in these chats who will say, "This is my address. Does anyone know if this house is still standing?" And because we're so hyper local and organized in that way, people are able to share. So I would say if anybody watching is a Palisadian or a friend of a Palisadian, I would encourage them to reach out to me on my Instagram. You can find me at the jungle upstairs, which is started as um, a way for me to post pictures of my plants during COVID, and it kind of spun into this little community of plant lovers. And now I'm using it as a jumping off point to direct people to the right place at our Discord.
Well, your actions are just so admirable, especially in the face of such devastation. And I appreciate you coming on today, sharing your story. Our hearts are with you, our prayers are with you, our thoughts are with you. And I'm just so grateful for the conversation. Thank you so much.
Brittany, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me the platform to tell our story.